number 469 of the West Tigers podcast and midweek pod. Nick on death's door, apparently, not feeling so well, may not last it through the pod. Ambulance, paramedics might come in and take him away at some stage. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, they're all on standby,
They're on
Joel.
standby. Okay.
But no, I'll battle through. I'll make it.
Yeah, trooper. You have to be. If you're a West Tigers fan, you have to have, you have to be pretty strong inside, I think, intestinal fortitude to be a Tiger. Jordan, how are you? We haven't spoken since the game against the Bulldogs. I thought we just might do the usual customary, get your thoughts on that 22-16 win. What does it tell us, do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm well, thanks, Joel, and happy birthday to yourself and Declan throughout the week as well. So
Thank you.
it's another year around the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a gritty victory. I think that last 15-minute period showed a lot of character. Considering, I don't know if actually anyone can confirm the stat, but the Bulldogs didn't give a single six again throughout the entire game, and I don't know if any other team's done that since the six again rules come into place. But we got the bounce of the ball, but it's nice to actually have one of those games where the Bulldogs won every stat bar the scoreboard, and we were the recipients of the 2 points, where it's normally the other way around. So it's a shame Twal's gone for a bit, but it's got to be that next man up mentality, and we've just got to continue on with a much tougher game against Penrith this week.
100%. It's nice, Josh, to see another team sort of in the eye of the storm when it comes to discussions around unhappy player squads. I think Parramatta's going through a little bit of a boardroom issue as well. Let's touch wood that West Tigers stay out of the headlines for the wrong reasons, but that has been something that's been mostly very refreshing about this year, is that we've been pretty much out of the headlines for the wrong reasons, mostly.
Yeah, it seems like ever since January hit and we got over the issues just before Christmas, it's been a well-run organization, which is not words you've ever used the Tiger describes of the Tigers, and especially by this time of the year, or halfway through the year, and we can still use the words well-run organization. So, signings, sponsors, wins. It's a very strange feeling, but one I'm quite enjoying this year. So, yeah, very good,
nice.
very good.
Let's keep it that way.
Exactly.
It is nice staying out of the headlines for the wrong reasons, but just quickly back on Parramatta, did you hear they're actually battling against a podcaster? It's the
No, I
club
didn't hear
versus a
that.
podcaster.
I saw that on Tony Adams' thing this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the podcaster's for years been receiving inside mail, and he's been leaking it with apparent consent of the club. But apparently there's been a few things that have gone down that the club's not happy with now. So
Wow.
the club versus the podcaster.
Very interesting.
So look out, boys.
Do they have one podcast or 18 podcasts like the West Tigers?
I'm not sure if they've got as many as we do.
I think it's their main one because they've got something like 6,000 followers or something. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah, I read that same story. It's quite intriguing because apparently they broke that Adidas was going to be the main apparel person before the club did, and it's rubbed people the wrong way.
Right.
So,
Well, then maybe they shouldn't have leaked the information in the first place. Like it's
leak
never
something
the
you want
media's.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's not the media's fault when you leak something. So
Yeah. You don't leak. Nobody ever leaked bad news. Sometimes they do in politics to water it down a little bit. Just a question without notice, just talking about Parramatta. It's 2026, 26 years in. If we'd merged with Parramatta, I know it's all hypothetical, but what do you think it would be like? Do you think you'd still be a fan? Do you think it would have been a happy marriage? How do you think that would have panned out? Nick, what do you think about that? Because, we are neighbours, but we also hate them.
Yeah, we hate everyone, don't we?
Yeah.
These days.
Just some more than others. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, I guess all the rumours when it first happened, or the talks in the late 1990s about who we were going to merge with, when the theory was that Balmain and Parramatta were going to merge, that they'd become the Parramatta Tigers, but then there were very quickly rumours that the Parramatta side wasn't too keen on losing the colours and how that would have worked, and then there was also talk a little bit later about it may end up being a potential takeover, a bit like the Northern Bears or whatever they used to be called, Northern Eagles.
Yeah,
Northern Eagles. So I think we probably made the right decision thinking back, I wish we had been a bit more successful in our 26 odd years of NRL with as the West Tigers. But you can't change the past. So
it's just funny to think how life would be different. And I mean, life is like that, isn't it? If I made that decision, what would my life be like now, 20 years later? But it's just sort of funny to think about. We would have been on that whole other tangent, and we might not even be fans anymore of the Tigers per se.
And there may even be some Parramatta fans, Josh, that wouldn't be so upset that they haven't won a comp in 40 odd years.
Well, I have to imagine, and I have to give some credit to the West group. Is I think if we were the Parramatta Tigers and the Balmain Tigers side went broke, I can't imagine we would have lasted as the Parramatta Tigers. So some credit to the guys at West in that we are still the West Tigers, because I'm not sure they would have been back to the Para Eels and black with the gold and orange perhaps at best. So
with a little tiger on the sleeve, maybe on the shoulder.
Yeah, perhaps. But so I'm glad that that never happened, and that they can enjoy their 40-something years now without a premiership. So
yeah. Back to contemporary issues. Taylor May, on the injury update from the club, Taylor May, 2 to 3 weeks, Jordan. I thought, and this is like Makasini, who is, named this week. As I said, he looked more like he was going to be in hospital than on a football field in that game last week against the Bulldogs. But 2 to 3 weeks for Taylor, that is very good news.
That's great news. It's surprising news. Unfortunately, the percentage for reoccurrence with that kind of injury is extremely high. I was quite shocked to see that, but then at the same time, I was more shocked to see Twal's gone for 4 to 6 weeks after watching him bounce around in the team song. So, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. The rehab team's obviously got to be aware of strengthening that shoulder, getting it right, because that's the main part you use to tackle, or at least it should be. I'll be keen to see how he actually pulls up. Dewey still being a few weeks away is a concern, considering he's been out for a while already, and he's done pretty much a similar injury to Taylor. So, yeah, great news. But Makasini, that's an interesting one. It was either one hell of a burner, or I am extremely skeptical that he takes the field on the weekend.
Jordan, just on Twali, did you notice during the team song, like you said, he was bouncing up and down, but the more the song went on, he quickly stopped hopping up and down, and then he limped away at the end. So maybe he had a bit of endorphin rush.
A bit of an adrenaline rush. It's 4 to 6 weeks for an MCL. That's the high end of it. So he's it's an unfortunate, but I am keen to see how Charlie Murray goes.
And Samuela, 6 to 7 weeks. I was going to ask Josh, is it we're still in contention. We're not in that mindset, and I'm not suggesting this, but this does give us an opportunity to look at life without Alex Twal for a bit and to see if we can go with somebody who's a little bit less, big-bodied middle forward, and someone who's a little bit more potentially creative in like a Charlie Murray, bearing in mind that we were talking a couple of weeks ago about Connor Watson potentially playing lock and how that might have worked out. So it does give us a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah, it'll be a different view. I mean, I'm not sure. Like Charlie Murray played well in the trials, and I think he did all right last year. He does play a different game. He's probably not quite as big. Runs a little harder. Can kind of jump into dummy half a little bit there too. He's more that kind of lock. I'm not sure about more creative. I mean, we all saw Alex Twal set up a try for Hunt. So, but yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how Charlie Murray goes. I think we'll get onto it later, but I think it might give Latu a chance to get some more minutes on the field this week too. Maybe Charlie Murray plays kind of the first 20 minutes and then kind of takes that early contact and then gives us some opportunities. Maybe it's Gaia moves to lock. Maybe Latu comes on and moves to lock. So I think there's some flexibility around how that looks this weekend after the first 20. So yeah, but good defensively, I think, which is probably the reason for himself and Mav starting. Is it's probably our solidest, given who's available, our solidest back row from a defensive point of view.
Yeah, we'll look a little bit more in depth at the team named against to take on Penrith on Sunday. And you're right. I mean, I did do him a disservice there by talking about creativity, because Jordan, that is something that Alex Twal's game has certainly developed, is that offload and that ability to be that link man.
Yeah, he's I think he's in the top 5 for offloads for what I understand. But yeah, he's creating a lot. Just the way he hits the line, turns his back, gets that ability to get that arm out. He's got the biggest arms in the club from the training photos I've seen. But yeah, creativity wise, I think the only thing we may lose, Charlie Murray can probably still do it, but being that big body in the 13 is that straight and run. That one where we seem to be going sideways and Twal comes in and takes just that hard run into the markers, makes that few extra metres, quick play the ball, and it straightens us back up. If Charlie Murray can do that, then I don't think we lose too much. But defensively, it's whether or not, yes, he's a good defender, but it's whether or not he can keep it up for 80 minutes like Twal does. Because Twal seems to be able to tackle with the same intensity, whether it's minute 1 or minute 80. Yeah. So Charlie needs to match that same kind of intensity in defence.
Well, we'll circle back around to the Penrith game. Just a couple of discussion points that I thought we might touch on, because it's something that's sort of been timely. And the guys on Tiger Town also were talking about this a little bit, Zach and Toby. Latu Fainu and his development. Are we doing him a disservice the way that we are using him, in that we are... it's no secret. We've been chopping and changing his roles, how he plays, where he plays, all of those things. Nick, I think it's got to be some sort of factor in his development over time. Like, he was brought here to be a 5'8". He had Galvin in front of him, and then he was shuffled around, and then, of course, he had Luai there as well. Javon Andrews, most people are sort of saying that Javon's probably next in line for 5'8". How do you see Latu working out? And do you think we're kind of stifling his development, and we'd be better off maybe having him more in New South Wales Cup, playing and plying his trade in one particular position?
It is an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think he was brought here on a 4-year contract. I think he's in his 3rd year now, on decent money too for a youngster. Excuse me, when he joined. I know that he's been touted in the past as the long-term number 7 or a future number 7, but I haven't had much of an opportunity to watch him at 7. I think there's been opportunities to name him at 7, especially the last couple of weeks. But I guess, Jock's doing a reasonable job, and he got the win last week too, which is great. But you're right, it's hard, right? Because he's only young and he's played predominantly off the bench, a little bit of 13. I have liked what I've seen from him at 13. He's a very different 13 to what we've had, especially with Alex Twal and Alex Seyfarth and whoever else has jumped in the 13 jersey for Norpole over the last few years too. I think he's a really good strike weapon in attack. He's very quick. He knows how to hit a hole. He's a hard runner. But he's probably not built for that defensive sort of 13 like Jordan was just talking about, what Twally's been able to do the last few seasons. So we might see a different style of lock play this week. And I know you mentioned we'll talk about Penrith shortly, but there might be some opportunity to swap out Charlie Murray at some point, and bring on Latu. I assume that the plan will be to play Latu at 9, like he has to give Happy a rest, but there might be an opportunity to shuffle him into that lock jersey. But I do agree, it's got to be hard for him, right? I don't know if he knows what he's going to be long term.
Jordan, do you see there being the potential that Latu is a long-term... look, Dewey may not be a long-term halfback option. I mean, that's sort of something that's just kind of happened. I don't think it was really I don't think the club really had that as their plan. It's just sort of happened by circumstances, and he's doing a wonderful job, and I'm not taking that away from him. But do you ever see Latu as being a long-term NRL halfback?
I have. We've got to keep in mind the amount of injuries this kid's had. He was in line for it, and then he got hurt just before preseason, or just before the trials, the previous preseason. In relation to his development for this year, it's hard to say whether we're stifling or not. It is difficult for a young player to move around positions, but at the same time, it's been out of necessity for the injuries that we've copped this year. But he is still doing a job. Defensively, he's actually quite, technique-wise, he's an amazing defender for a small bloke. It's without probably doing a full preseason to bulk up and play that 13 role. I don't think that's his long-term role. I do think 7 is his long-term role.
Okay.
But he is our Mr. Fix-It at the moment. He's filling, apart from playing in the back line, he's filling every other position that we need. I think that we'll find with this weekend, he will probably play 13. I'd say Charlie Murray will go into the second row with Mav Gaia changing into the prop rotation at one stage. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He's got silky hands. He loves to run. He's a good runner of the ball. He's got that ability to play eyes up football. It is just I don't think probably in the probably in the entire time that he has been with us under contract with us, I don't think he's had a non-disrupted preseason.
Yeah.
So he had the shoulder injuries, and he's had I think he's had a couple of hamstring issues as well. So it's hard. Like, he is still young. I think Josh mentioned earlier he's still SG ball eligible.
Flag.
So
Jersey flag. So
Jersey flag. So Jersey flag eligible.
Yeah.
So he's still very young. He's still got a long career ahead of him. I think he is an exceptional talent, but his ability to sort of kind of make his case for the 7 has just been disrupted by his body letting him down. So it'll be hard to say if he can get through the rest of this season without injury and hit preseason with no injury and undisrupted. I think we're probably looking at a different situation in 2027.
Yeah. Josh, do you maybe he might end up just being a very, very good utility player. He is somebody like a Connor Watson that can play in the halves, could play lock, could play hooker, and that's okay. And having these experiences early on actually sets him on that course.
Yeah, I actually think probably that is his future. I mean, I think he's a big enough body. I mean, I was just having a look. He's 3 kilos heavier and 3 centimeters taller than Connor Watson, so who's been playing lock for the last few years. He's a strong guy, has a good tackling technique. He can play hooker, he can play in the halves, he can play lock. I think he's a really great 14, and maybe over time he develops into a lock full time. I'm not sure I do see him as a 5'8" long term. I think that 14 role, which I think is a really important role in today's game. You look at, as I said, Connor Watson. You look at Kurt Mann and Jamin Salmon at the Dogs.
Yeah.
You kind of look. There's a mix of teams. Kind of half the teams have that big body off the bench coming in at lock, and the other half have that kind of smaller but able to do more with the ball. And then the Panthers have Isaiah Yeo, who is both huge and able to do everything with the ball. But that's very rare. I think his ability to play that 14 role, as I said, he is Jersey flag eligible. Like, he could still be playing in the under 21s. So I think getting and look, the last couple of weeks he's kind of got 40 minutes a week as opposed to 15 to 20. I think 15 to 20 probably isn't getting enough development, but I think if we can get him 30 or 40 minutes across lock, hooker, now that hopefully has been banished to the reserve grade for the rest of the year, I think that sees him get more minutes because he was getting kind of 15 to 20 at lock. Now he can get 15 to 20 at lock and 15 to 20 at hooker when Appy goes off. So if he's getting 40 minutes, I think that's probably good for him. But I think the halves with Madden and, we've had Dewey injured, we've had Luai injured. They've brought Madden in each time. We haven't seen Latu get a run. And Javon Andrews has been on the extended bench a couple of times. I don't think they're seeing him, at least for now, as a half going forward. So be interesting to see how that develops over the next little while.
Samuela doesn't exist. Sione doesn't exist. They're off playing in the Super League or at Manly, and we've only got Latu. Completely hypothetical. Nick, would you advise, if you were his manager, to stay at West Tigers, given what's happened in his time at West Tigers, or do you think there'd be other opportunities for him? I know he wants to play with his brothers, and they want to stay together, but is that best for Latu, do you think?
I don't like that hypothetical. I'd love to tell him to stay at West Tigers, but yeah, whether it's best for him or not, I don't know. Probably depends on the opportunity, if there is another one that comes up for him. I don't want to think about a scenario at the moment with West Tigers without the Fainu brothers either. So if it means we need all 3 or 4 next year, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Then that's what we're going to have, Jordan.
Yeah, you would have to think, if we are actively in discussions with re-signing, forgetting Samuela, if we're actively in discussions with signing Latu, there is no doubt Benji's had that conversation with him of where he sees his pathway in the team. No one's going to commit their long-term future to the club when there are a shortage of halves in the game. You've got 2 new teams about to hit the competition,
Yeah.
he would have had those conversations with Benji. We aren't privy to that. We don't know what has been discussed, whether Benji believes it is in the halves or whether he believes that he does need a preseason to bulk up and be that permanent 13 option for us. So I would say that the club, especially more specifically Benji, has a plan for Latu, especially if we are going to try and tie him up long term, and it will still be at decent money.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to think there's a plan. I mean, his manager would be asking that question, surely, Josh. He'd be saying, well, if he resigns, what does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and perhaps it's that that he has an opportunity for that 5'8" role when Jerome goes. There'll be competition there, but with Andrews and with Madden, I guess to an extent, and that kind of depends how he goes for the next little while as well. But maybe the discussion is, look, there is an opportunity at 5'8", but even if you don't make that opportunity, we have a really central role for you in this 14 role, which is really important in the modern game, especially if you can play hooker and lock and halves, kind of you're covering multiple positions. Perhaps he's getting, in a couple of years, he is getting 50, 60 minutes, but just coming off the bench to missing those first 20. So be interesting.
And Madden, I believe, is only signed for this year and next. So realistically, somebody could come in and sign him from November. Do we re-sign Jock Madden? Is he someone, because he's been subsidised by the Broncos for these 2 years? Is he a priority re-signing? That's a hard question, isn't it?
I wouldn't
He
say
might be off to the
priority.
Chiefs.
I'd say we should sign him as a good backup if he's happy to stay as a good backup. I don't know that, I don't see a world where you're signing Jock Madden to be one of your starting halves yet, but he's going to get plenty of opportunities between Adam and Jerome being injured, and maybe he's going to get some more opportunity. And if he cements his spot and his defense picks up, maybe he will. Sometimes all the guy needs is a good, consistent run at first grade.
Yeah.
I don't think the club discusses re-signing him unless he comes to the club going, look, I've got an opportunity going elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be in a rush. Like, we still have Skelton, who's off contract, who can technically sign with anyone and anywhere for next year. So, yeah, I don't think in the priority list, I don't think he's in the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, it'd be another thing to watch out for in coming months to see what happens. I mean, the only thing is you could probably maybe see like a Perth finding a spot for him potentially. Yeah. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. What about this question? West Tigers currently a 50% win rate team. So over the last 12 months, we're at about 12. We're at 50%. We win half our games. How do we grow that? How do we become a 60%, 65% win rate team? No official confirmation yet on Jake Averillo. It looks as though that might be something that happens. So that probably answers that right center question, I suppose. But what do we need to do? What weaknesses? I've got a couple of ideas, but I'll throw it to you guys first. I'll go back to Josh first. What do you think? How do we go from that middle of the field to being, just that next rung up the ladder?
Yeah, I don't think we're too far off. Like if we add Avarillo in the centers, it gives us that little bit more quality. Like we've kind of and I see, you've got Makasini and Tavana who will both be better in another year. Like that kind of that you want those players who are on the upward trajectory. Taylor Mays, Taruva, Buller, they're all reasonably young, so you build the combination stay. Halves, I think we've got opportunity. We've got strong developing depth there. Perhaps in the forwards, we need a little bit more of that quality bench level. Probably the guys, like I think 1 to 17. I feel like we're in a good position.
Yeah.
Feel like Avarillo would kind of cover the outside back depth. Plus he might start, but it kind of improves if you keep the others. I think so. Maybe it's what's that third back row when one of them's out? Who's that fifth and sixth prop? Because I think we drop off fairly well after that, and probably middle. So we got the 3 starters, Hunt and Sione, but actually, as soon as 1 or 2 is injured, it's a big drop off. So it's to me, our top 17 is probably in that ratio, and we saw that earlier in the year. And it's not depth through a whole 30, but it's who is your next man up in every kind of like middles, edge, outside backs, and then spine. So do you need a better hooker? You need another prop. You need another second row, but not stars, but actually, how do you bring through the guys who are not 19, but do you keep Ethan Roberts? You get Haywood in a couple of years. So maybe it's not new signings, but it's making sure we keep the guys and develop the guys that are coming through that are probably a little young to be good first grade replacements at the moment. I think that's where we get to that 65, 70% for me. So yeah, it's not so much outside signings.
It's positions in the roster from 19 to 25.
Yep. Yep.
If we can,
25 to 30, who cares? Like every
yeah,
team's going to have weakness at 25 to 30. It's
yeah,
that next little gap there. Yeah, that's my call.
with the hope that most of those positions fill internally, but those positions filling internally means you're going with people who don't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So it's that walking that fine line all the time. I think Jordan. I think we're missing a prop. I wouldn't mind a prop that takes Pole's starting position and pushes Pole back to the bench.
Yeah, just to echo something Josh said, it is depth. We are lacking those middle forwards to cover injuries. We need a couple of journeymen, not necessarily on the other side of 30, but those ones that are playing regular New South Wales Cup but can come in and do a job in first grade if needed. Our depth has definitely been testing the outside backs. Avarillo will help that. Patrick Herbert signed on for next year. We probably need one more in the backs, and then we definitely need a backup hooker. We need a backup utility kind of that 14 style role who is more or less for New South Wales Cup, but that can come in and do that job because hope isn't the answer. Haywood's still very young. So, and that's what concerns me if Appy gets selected for Origin 2.
Yeah.
Is we're going to go back to hope. I'm hoping we just work with Charlie Murray and
Very short term
and
contract. Yeah.
Latu Fainu and stuff for the hooking role. But yeah, we definitely need one more prop. We need another. Like you got to Tapau Moores, who's coming through.
Yeah.
I expect him to probably make his debut in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
But again, still very young, very raw. But we do need another. Bunty Afoa for me was meant to be that. He seems to be out of favour to a degree, but we need one more. We need another journeyman forward who will come and do that job for us. But honestly, think about it. I can't actually think of anyone that sticks out for me that I'd even be chasing. So yeah, depth is something we need to address. That you're 100% right, Josh. That sort of kind of 19 to 25 need to be first grade standard. They need to be players that can come in and do the job and not just be stopgaps because we've got too many injuries.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very important little period of time, I think, for the club, Nick, because we've gone. If you look at the Richo meter, we've gone from poor to terrible to poor to average. We're at sort of average, showing signs of going to that next level. We don't want to undo all this good work. We've got a good solid core, but I think that's going to be the big task over the next 12 months is getting those options, as the boys say, guys that can come in and do the job.
I agree. I just want to make a quick comment though. Like Jordan, you mentioned that Jared Hayward is very young. I just had a quick look. So he's 19. He'll be 20 in December. So yeah, he's young, but he's not. He's not like as young as what Galvin was when he debuted, right? So he's old enough. I would expect that we'll see a fair bit of Hayward next year. It's looking like this year, maybe not. And again, I haven't seen much of him. I've seen highlights.
Oh, we can see you, Nick, but we cannot hear you any longer.
He's lost his voice.
He's lost his voice.
Sickness has kicked
in. The
in.
ambulance is coming.
Can
the
you
paramedics.
hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, that's good news. Not sure where I dropped off, but just on Jared Hayward, I think we'll probably see a bit more of him next season. And from what I do remember watching him in the trials, he was very, very good and very crafty. So I can see him being that 9.
Yeah.
Especially the backup for Uppy in the next couple of years that we need. I also think if we get a little bit of luck with injuries, like if we had most of our full squad this week up against the Panthers, I would give us a real red hot crack. I'd like to think we'll give them a shake this week. I'm not sure about that. But if we were close to full strength, I reckon we can just about beat anyone. So I don't think we're far away, Joel, from that 65%.
We need someone to come in for Nick who can do a job. Yeah, off the bench.
Yeah. Maybe go off the emergency bench. Yes.
Exactly. Eh, when I look at the history of the West Tigers and we talk about 2005, the big thing with the 2005 year was, yes, we bought the Shane Elfords, the Paul Fatawiras, the Scott Princes, but we also had 5 or 6 really good juniors come through at that time. And the West Tigers experience so often has been that we've all heard about this crop of next young juniors coming through, and instead of it being 5 or 6, it's been 1 or 2. Like if let's cross our fingers and hope and pray that what we see over the next 12 months, 18 months, 2 years is that we do see that crop of youngsters come through and have an impact, because that's what will push us up, because we can't really buy it. We can strategically strengthen positions, but we're going to have to rely on the youngsters coming. And we've invested a lot in the juniors in the last couple of years. So let's hope and pray that it continues to pay off. I mean, obviously we've got Macassini that's come through, and Hayward's not far off, and we strategically brought Roberts in from the Roosters system. But if some of these guys come in and hit the ground running, we're in a really, really good position. I think we almost could start talking about premiership window in the next 4 years. I know that's a huge, huge call, but yeah, like it's all coming towards that. Let's hope we don't blow it up.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable though, Joel, because
Mm.
if 4 years, that's towards the 2030 when all these players we've just re-signed come off contract. So
Yeah,
that's not an unreasonable request. Like, you're going to have those young crops who are going to be in their early 20s
yeah.
who have finished physically developing. So that is a spot on assessment, because we should be aiming for that. And Sean Mellencamp's mantra has all been about pathways and
Mm.
juniors and setting up pathways. So. And we picked up some good ones. Like, one of the ones that doesn't get a lot of mention, but that Glassy,
Mm.
he is a chic looking player.
Yeah.
I'm keen to see how he develops in the next 2 years, because just the name alone
Yeah.
is an NRL player over and over. But I've watched a couple of his games now, and I've fallen nearly Nick style in love, like with
Right.
Sabdella, with Glassy. So
Yep.
I've got posters and everything ready to go when he makes his
Yeah, yeah.
debut.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it.
I will say I did watch the Flegg game on the weekend, and Glassy on one wing, and a guy Felipe Huahulu who came up from the Jersey from the SG Ball on the other wing. Both big, strong, hard running wingers. Um, Tallish, especially Hula Hulu, was Tallish. They were both very impressive. Like
He's
they
got
were,
freakish hands, Hula Hula. He's got
he was.
great hands.
Yeah, he like probably stood out to me a little more than Glassy, but they were both very good. Like they were them with Attard at the back. That was an exceptional back three in that match. They were. I mean, Attard looked a class. Been playing cup. He was a class above the Flegg level. Like he was too good for that. But all three of them were exceptional. With Hayward in the middle, like that that they beat the Bulldogs team, and it only ended up 26-20, but we probably should have won by more. It was kind of there were, I don't know, we always looked too good for them
Mm.
on the weekend. So yeah, lots of good signs in a Flegg team that's coming second on the ladder. So our
Mm.
juniors are starting to pay off. So good news.
Attard goes into a top 30 position, I think, next year
He
from
does.
memory.
Yeah,
So
he does.
how does that play out? Does he play some wing? Does he take Skelton's
That
spot?
that's what I was just about to say. I think he takes Skelton's spot. I think
Mm.
that's why the club hasn't rushed in to sign Skelton. I think Attard comes in and play because now that Bull has re-signed for another 4 years. Yeah, I think Attard's pathway is going to be wing, potentially centre. He's big and strong enough to
Yep.
play that kind of role if he fills out a bit more. But yeah, I think he plays wing in first grade for us if he hangs around.
He's
Very
got a good
interesting.
boot on him too. You should have seen him. Like he hasn't been kicking in New South Wales Cup, but in Jersey Flegg he was doing the long kicking and he was smashing it downfield. Like he
With those
did the
long
goal
legs.
kicking, not so good, but yeah, he was definitely giving it a whack. So, yeah, it was interesting seeing him at that kind of slightly lower level. He was, yeah, just looked way too good for them. So.
Yeah, very interesting. What about one out of left field for going from good to great? Is there anything we need to do in the coaching stakes, do you think? Is there any like the coaching team looks stable, and I'm not saying get rid of Benji. I'm not saying that, but like, you know, Is there the potential that we could bring somebody in that adds something that we don't currently have, do you think? Somebody from outside the organization that changes something, or is that something, Nick, that you think might be worth investigating? John Morris, Brett Hodgson doing a good job, obviously, but is there an opportunity there just to shake things up a bit in a positive way?
I think they're doing a great job, and I think Benji's making massive increments in his coaching prowess over the last few seasons. He's really climbing that ladder really well. Can we get Wayne Bennett over to the club? I think
Wayne
he'd work
Bennett.
really nicely with Benji. But no, I don't know. Unless you can come up with some masterminds that can really,
Mm,
read into the way other teams play and help Benji with coaching strategies. I'm not too sure if I'd be too tempted to play around with it. I know what Benji's like. We all get that kind of idea what Benji's like. He likes to have his tight knit group around him, those guys that he can trust. So, um, I mean, they've all made huge progress this season. I think we were defending brilliantly
mm.
until those three losses in a row. And that did come back again against the Dogs. I think we're really good, especially in the first half, and especially closing out that game as well.
Yeah,
Showed how
yeah.
good we were defensively. So, yeah, I'm not too sure what you change. Unless someone like Bennett came along, which isn't going to happen, but I don't know, he'd put alongside Benji.
Someone who's very technically minded, but also doesn't want to be a head coach. Very hard to find.
Yep.
I heard a rumor that Pat Richards was going to be the general manager of football. Is
He
that
is.
it is
I can
confirmed?
tell you. Well, it's not confirmed, but I can
Okay.
tell you from the horse's mouth it is. I know Paddy really well through my job.
Yep.
And yeah, he left his long term employment to go and be the GM of football for the West Tigers.
Right. Okay. Just hasn't been confirmed or
Hasn't been
yeah.
confirmed yet, but
Yep.
he isn't around the club at the moment. But yeah, he left his job of 10 years to go and take up that role.
Okay. Good. Well, I mean that's another change, and I can only see that as being a positive because he's, by all reports, has a huge amount of credibility and a huge amount of a lot of people have got a lot of respect for him and who he is as a person. And isn't it funny how we're just talking about having a winger having a huge boot, and then we're talking about Pat Richards. When I think about Pat Richards, aside from obviously the grand final, I think about the dropouts and the
Kickoffs.
the kicks, the
Oh,
kickoffs. Yeah.
And credit
loved it.
also to Shannon Gallant, who's the recruitment manager.
Yep.
Like he's, from everything I've heard, especially out here in the southwest, like he is really, really pushing hard with a lot of the juniors and keeping in touch with families and
Good.
prospects of young kids. And really, I think the best line I heard from a dad of a kid who's in the system at the moment was like he is making the young kids feel seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
good.
So that's credit to Shannon Gallant because he's putting in a lot of the miles to get that position sorted.
And that is to say that I wouldn't be surprised if there's people who reported in the past of being feeling like they're not being seen.
100%. There
Yeah.
were kids that were promised the world and told that they'll be looked after, and then they're just crickets,
Yeah.
nothing. So yeah, we've lost a lot of juniors over the years for that exact reason. But he's fixing that. He's mending that bridge.
Mm. Dare I say it, we are a development club. We need to get that right.
That's the aim. That's the aim.
Okay, the Penrith Panthers this weekend, Sunday, 2 p.m. at Combank Stadium. The Panthers are absolutely unbackable red hot favourites for the game, $1.16 the last time I looked. Uh, on the St George Illawarra podcast, I'm sure there's one. There might be 19 or 20 of them, as there are with the West Tigers podcast. I know it's being repetitive, I know. But on the St George Illawarra pod last week, they were probably saying, oh, we're going to struggle against the Broncos. We've got to go up there. We're no chance. But it can happen, Josh, can't it? I mean, this is not a bad team that we've named, albeit Penrith very, very strong.
Yeah, look, it's a good team we've named. Like, there's obviously still some guys out, but I don't think it feels a little stronger than we were a couple of weeks ago. We've
Yeah.
got Appy in there, which obviously makes a huge difference. The back row, the couple of injuries in the back row still affecting us. I think the halves worked probably the best they had since that combination came together last week.
Yep.
And look, I think the Penrith style, weirdly enough, like it's not necessarily about us winning, but I think that the Panthers style of football is one that actually, and I talk about styles make fights. I think that's one that works for us. I don't think it's necessarily, there's some other teams where just the nature of their players, heights, the type of play they play where it's a bit more ad lib. I don't think that necessarily works for us these days. But I think Panthers are a very repetitive side. They just keep doing the same things, but they do them very well.
Mm.
I think that probably works for us, and we can kind of compete, and that's what we've been doing a lot of this year is doing that pretty tough. So I definitely think we can keep this close, and then you've just got to take your opportunities. So, yeah, look, I think obviously Panthers are, almost unbeatable this season, but again, I don't think to some of the better teams, they're not necessarily dominating. If we get them on an off day, it's there's a lot of ex-Panthers in the Tigers side, so we'll be up for the fight. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I think. We're expecting. It's a Sunday afternoon. It'll be sunny. Yeah, I think the boys will be right up for this. So, yeah, I'm feeling more confident. Definitely more confident than I was at the games before the bye. So,
Mm.
yeah, the Dogs win was a good sign.
We've been talking about Toa being busted, but it looks like, I mean, Macassini, as we mentioned earlier on the pod, some people saying, the feeling that he's not going to be playing, and Toa's coming in, and Toa's only got one arm. Jordan, do you see that happening? Do you see Macassini not playing?
I'm skeptical. I'm very
Mm.
skeptical. It happened right in front of me when he got hurt, and then we were sitting behind the bench, and he didn't look good. Like he was carrying that arm, even at the
Yeah.
end of the game when they were looking at fans and stuff around after the game had finished. He was still carrying that arm quite protectively. So I would be very surprised. I will give Stafford Toa credit. Like there was especially one tackle, I think it
Oh,
might have
yeah.
been a non-Sherry.
Yeah.
He stepped up defensively in that last 10 minutes.
Yep.
Like that tackle on Sherry, I dead set thought he had super glue on his hands. I don't know how he held on to him, and he hit him right around the hip and just brought him down. But if he can keep that up, then it's not as much as a concern. As Josh said, with Penrith being repetitive, you know what you're going to get. You've got to work them over the middle, and you need to play second phase. The offload, they hate teams that offload. They hate Penrith's defensive structure is controlling the ruck.
Yeah.
They control it. They suffocate you. They basically make you go where they want you to go. And a lot of them have their back turned with that second phase football because they expected to shut down when they make first contact. So, which is really a shame that we don't have Twal. That is
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest losses we'll have with it because of how he offloads. But if I'm Benji, I'm telling my forwards, look for the offload. Like, obviously, don't force it. We don't want to give Penrith too many opportunities with errors, but we need to play second phase football to really disrupt how they defend.
Yeah, some very, very good points. I like our bench to a degree. I mean, Latu is obviously there and will come on most likely for Appy. Royce Hunt, Roberts, Bunty Afoa. I mean, there's a fair bit there. Obviously, Alex Seyfarth, and we've spoken about Alex Seyfarth a bit in the last week, but he could come on in short stints and tidy up the middle of the field, Nick. I think if there's one area where I reckon we can match them, it's on the bench.
Yeah, actually, I could see Alex Seyfarth coming on and rustling a few feathers if need be. Might be able to get under Nathan Cleary's skin or someone from that Panthers team. Maybe one of the younger fellas. Casey McLean, I'll tell you what, he's a dangerous player. But yeah, I was watching the highlights.
Easy to upset. He gets very, very fired up, Casey McLean. But yeah, type of person you target.
Yeah, I don't want to encourage, unsportsmanlike play, but I guess Alex Seyfarth, that's that type of play. What are you shaking your head for, Josh?
Yeah.
You're all for it?
Against the Panthers, I'm all for it. Give it to them.
Exactly right. We've got to do something different to beat them. So, like you've all just said, Penrith are so professional. And even if things aren't going their way, look at the way Nathan Cleary took charge in Origin last week. Like he went against the game plan and just took that game by the scruff of the neck and basically won it on his own. But look, Penrith can quite easily put points on us on the weekend. But if we can get in the fight, and we need to do what we did against the Dogs, we've got to come out and dominate early. We've got to have a really fast start. Thank God Uppy's playing. Uppy needs to have another blinder. Hopefully he can lead that line speed in the first 20, 30 minutes like he did against the Dogs and get Penrith backpedaling a little bit. Because I can just see if we don't get on the front foot and start eating those meters up the middle, Nathan Cleary's just going to kick us in the corners and it's going to be very difficult to get out of our own half. So it's a very tall mountain to climb, but you never know.
Luai had a good game last week against the Bulldogs, but I think this would be one that he would be wanting to prove not prove a point because the Panthers did anything wrong by him, but he, just getting one up on them, I think would be one that he would like to get, Josh, just to playing against his former team where he won the premierships, up against Nathan Cleary. Like, I think there's a fair bit on the line for him in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he'll be passionate. I mean, he goes out most weeks really passionate, but I think next week he'll be right up there. And I think Taruva's the same. I think the May boys are the same. Like we have a lot of guys who
Mm,
have a point to prove against Penrith, and I think Jerome, given where things have been, this is his last. This is this is well, he's not on his last to be here last year, next year. So, but it's one of those chances against the Panthers. The Panthers are in form. And look, we last year when we were had a slightly better year than it had been years before. But we actually, we this same game last year, it was only we only lost by 4, and I
mm,
remember being out there, and it was only goal kicking that kind of
mm.
lost it for us. Um, and we had Heath Mason at 5'8" that day, so we've got a bit better side this time. I think Jerome will really go out there. I think last week I thought his game was probably different to all year. He was doing a lot more long kicking. He was switching sides, like he was coming over to the right and the left, and like moving around a bit more. Yeah, I think he's probably hitting his straps after his injury. I think after the break, and I think he'll be right up for this game. So I'm hoping to see a big game from him on the
Mm.
weekend.
And if Makasini's playing, we need to get him one-on-one with Dylan Edwards
Hmm.
Yeah,
in
be
that
nice to
trial
see that
game.
again, wouldn't it?
Is a big answer, Jordan, Jareem Buller. Like if Buller has a big game, I think we're in with a chance.
Definitely, I think we all saw the difference Buller made to our team against the
Mm,
Dogs. I put myself through a bit of torture watching watching the highlights of our losses that we
mm,
didn't have Buller in it.
mm.
And there's probably at least 6 or 7 tries that if he's there, they don't happen.
Yeah.
So he makes a big difference, not just for what he does with the ball, but what he does off. His talk's gotten better as a fullback with in defence, but also he creates that presence to put a doubt in defenders' minds. Because if he's out the back, they're worried about if he's getting the ball. I know he doesn't look the quickest, and I know he is quick, but he just all he needs is a half a gap and he makes that chance. But that combination that he's sort of kind of building with Kai Pierce Paul at the moment,
Mm.
you've just got to work on that. Isolate that one defender, get them tackling low around KPP, and then he gets it off to Buller. So yeah, he's a big answer to us. He's really a massive threat in attack, but defensively for us, especially that one tackle he made against Tuala or whoever made that
Mm.
break, he's important. He's massively important. If he has a big game and Appy has a big game, we're in for a chance.
I think Madden's kicking game needs to be on song. And the only thing I fear, what I'm worried about us making yardage. I just that's sort of what if we find ourselves in an arm wrestle where we're making yardage and we're making ground, then I'm not so worried. But I've seen a couple of signs of our forwards in the last couple of weeks where we've struggled a bit to make yards, and maybe Bunty may contribute to that. Maybe using Royce Hunt slightly, earlier than we did against the Bulldogs. But Penrith, it's hard to say because they're such a great team, but they don't scare me like some other teams that we play. Um,
Agreed.
that's not to say that they're not probably going to win, but yeah, they don't put that fear in me like some other teams do.
But
So what's our predictions then, boys? Josh, you were going to say something?
yeah, I was going to say Penrith grind you down, which is kind of
Mm,
the style we were trying to play in the first 6 or 7 weeks and playing really successfully. I think they're the same, and it's that's to your point, Joel. They don't have. It's not like you're worried they're going to come and blow you away with 40 points in the first half. You're worried that they're going to grind you down for
yeah.
60 minutes and then blow you away for the last 20. So,
Mm,
we've got to stay with them. And I think we will. And so I'm going to be out there this weekend, and I think we're going to win 24-18 on
wow.
Tigers victory. I'm
Okay.
feeling it.
You're
Yeah.
feeling it.
I think Appy versus Freddie Lussick in that hooker position
Yeah.
just gives us such an advantage. I think that gets us moving forward. When I
Mm.
think, them without Mitch Kenny and Freddie Lussick's not the same. I think they'll have some challenges getting down the field with that hooker. I think Appy changes the game and we win. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my prediction.
Big prediction. Jordan.
Yeah, Josh stole my score. Yeah, I think it's going to be a grind. You're right about we have to stay with them, and Penrith do like to do their damage towards the back end of the game. Funnily enough, I'm actually more confident about this game than I was against the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Um,
What a weird world we live in, eh?
I
Yeah.
know it's bizarre.
Yeah.
I'll go 26-20 just to be similar to Josh.
Okay. Nick, what are your waters telling you
24-16 Penrith.
to Penrith? Okay.
I can't see us winning. I hope we win. I just think we've got a couple of too many key players out. If we had Samuela, if we had Twally, if we had Dewey,
Yeah.
big chance.
I'm feeling good about Mav Guy on that edge this week against his old side, against his, the
hope
club
so.
he's been at for a lot of years. I reckon he will have an absolute stormer out there on the edge against his old team.
I liked him in the game he played the other week. I actually thought he made a good impact when he played the other week, starting in the second row, and as you said, against his old team. I'm keen to see how he goes.
Me too.
I think 30 is the winning score, or 32. I think something like 32-22. I'm going to go 32-22, but I don't think it's going to be us. They just know how to win. They know how to win better than us. So
That's fair.
They get cynical in their old age, don't they?
They do.
I am by nature cynical, yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll be back on hopefully on Sunday night with a post-win edition of the West Tigers podcast, but it'll at least be a post-game edition of the West Tigers podcast. Thank you, boys. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody watching or listening in. And don't forget to join in the conversation on the West Tigers podcast forum. Enjoy the game, guys.
Thanks,
you guys.
Joel.
Good boys.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
Go the Tigers.